dude, when you're broke, buying rental properties is stupid. The most important thing you could do today is like fix your current situation. Start making some active income.
Bigger Pockets pushes a lot of this stuff. It's like, get in real estate investing. It's all about the passive income.
Why would I want a rental property that makes $200 a month? Why wouldn't I just flip it and make $25,000? This makes no sense. I can build long-term wealth at any point.
I think the perfect example is if you buy a property, you improve the value, and now you had $1 million of equity, you can sell this property and take $1 million profit, or this property would cash flow, let's say $50,000 a year, and you can hold it long-term. If I cash flow this thing, it would take me 20 years of $50,000 a year in cash flow just to break even.
Bro, so dumb.
20 years is a long time, man.
Well, let me add another point to this is I get a lot of people who ask me, what about my taxes? I need to buy rentals to lower my taxes. I'm like, you don't make money. Why are you worried about your taxes?
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Report. Today, we are not in San Diego, but I am sitting in a really nice podcast set here in Las Vegas. I just finished recording on his show. I got my man, Ryan Pineda. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here, dude.
Yeah, man. Pleasure to finally connect in person. I know we've been chatting on Instagram for about 6 months now, and it's finally, it's good to connect in person, man. I got your tour, your office out here, and dude, impressive setup you got, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with all your stuff going on, man, tell us what you've been up to today.
Today, dude, I just filmed some podcasts today. That's all I did today. But no, every week's different.
Yeah.
You know, people are coming in and out, different business meetings, different, amazing guests that we get to have on the show. We're always launching new products and new companies, acquiring businesses, buying more real estate. Like there's just always something going on, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get the live events now.
There's always an event.
Yeah. What projects are you most excited for right now?
I was just telling you about it. The newest thing we just launched, we did a webinar for it yesterday, actually, was the brand blueprint. So, just really helping entrepreneurs build their personal brand right now and, showing them the power of a podcast, as you know, and how much it can really help them.
Yeah. How long ago was it when you started putting out content?
I tell people it was COVID, but the reality was I officially started in 2016. I would just post on Facebook, like write a little blog type deal and show some before and afters of some house flips I was doing. And, that alone, just making maybe like one post a week, got me deals. It got me investors and allowed me to just kind of grow.
Yeah.
But I would say I really started taking I called myself a content creator in 2020 during COVID. That was when I realized I was like, wow, this is the future. People don't get it. I need to go all in on this right now.
What was it about that moment in time in 2020 that made you realize you wanted to go all in? Because looking back, it's like, man, everyone was at home. There was the pandemic. Everyone was on lockdown. And so in terms of getting eyeballs, I don't think that you would have picked a better spot.
There was not a better point in time. And I literally understood everything you just mentioned as I looked at the situation. And, the thing was, I never really watched content. Like I didn't watch YouTube. I didn't really listen to that many podcasts, and it just wasn't a thing for me. I understood social media was important. It's not like I didn't know it was important, but I didn't realize the power of long form content and what these guys were doing over there. I was just on Instagram. And so it was just like, all right, I post some stories and a picture of me. There was no reels or anything. And that was just me. But, as time went on, I saw TikTok coming up and I was like, wow, this TikTok thing, if I don't even like watching content and this TikTok thing is super addictive, which it was. And I was like, this is going to take off. And so I got really good at making TikToks first. And, my TikTok, I remember in 2020, I got, I think like, how much was it? Like 100,000 followers in 3 months.
Wow.
It was crazy. And there was nobody making content in the real estate space on TikTok. Like everybody thought I was an idiot. They're like, why are you on some kids platform like doing this? Aren't you flipping all these houses? Which I was. I had 50 flips going on, but I knew it was going to blow up. I just had so much confidence in it. And, at the same time too, I knew YouTube was important after like really studying it and understanding like, wow, this is just a search engine. And man, if you make good content, you'll grow.
What was your mindset back then though? Were you thinking, because like for a lot of content creators, myself included, it's like, okay, well, we're raising money for our fund. We have a lot of different areas to where we can bring in revenue. So I know putting out content benefits the business in those ways. But for you back in 2020, were you thinking strategically like, hey, I'm going to put up this content so I can bring in more revenue? Or were you more just like thinking, hey, I'm going to grow the brand because I know it's going to pay off down the road?
It was both. I knew for my local house flipping business, it wasn't going to really do anything. Right. And I already had established everything locally that I needed to. So I knew it wasn't going to help there. At that time, I really wasn't doing coaching. I had just started kind of getting into it. In 2019, I made like 50 grand coaching. It wasn't anything. 2020, I made 700 grand, all because of content. And, at the end of the day, I just knew like, okay, if I make really good videos about real estate investing, house flipping, people will go to that. I also had a tax firm, so I knew people would go to that. Eventually, after that year, I got into capital raising. And so I was like, I know that I'm going to raise capital for syndications. And, then I opened up a bunch of other businesses as time went on. And so I knew it was going to do that. But also, one of the big things that stuck out to me was at that time in 2020, there was all these guys that are friends of mine now, like Graham Stephan and Meet Kevin, and they were the guys in the business space. Hormozy and those guys didn't exist yet.
Right.
And, Cardone was obviously on and everything else, but like those guys like Graham and Kevin and some other people, they were to me like the new generation of like content creators. I don't think Grant Cardone would ever call himself like a content creator. He just is a business guy who basically markets. He's a great marketer. What I saw from them was something different. I saw that they were making content as the primary business. And, I remember they did a video one day talking about how much they were making just from YouTube AdSense and sponsors. And it was mind blowing. I mean, Graham was making hundreds of thousands a month. Kevin at one point, I think, was making like over $1 million a month. And I'm thinking, I got like 50 house flips going on, all this risk, running a real business, managing all this crap. This dude's out here with a camera by himself with no employees, just making videos and making more.
And some of these guys are cranking it without a big team.
They had no team. They literally had no team. Like Graham did not have a team. Kevin was doing everything on his own and he prided himself on that. And I'm sitting there like, dude, that's like pure net profit. That's insane that they're putting up those kinds of numbers without even having a real business. YouTube was their real business. And I was like, I ain't going to hate on that. It's freaking smart. And so I was like, I have to get in the YouTube game. So yeah, I knew it was going to benefit my business, but I knew too, there were other opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, they say eyeballs is the new currency. And I don't think it's ever been more true than it is today. I mean, look at guys like Alex Hormozy. I mean, he just hit the scene, a year and a half ago, blew up, because we have access to all these different platforms. But would you say, because, obviously you started in 2020, really taking the content seriously. And back then there wasn't a ton of people creating, especially in the real estate space. Yep. Would you say that it's a lot more competitive today? And how do you think that has kind of changed the way that you're approaching the content?
I don't know that it's more competitive today. I do think that maybe there's less eyeballs today on content than there was during COVID, right? Because like people, like you said, were just watching content so much more. Like I remember a distinct, like after everyone finally went back to work and stuff, that, views and everything were dropping for everyone. And so that definitely was the case. I think 2020, 2021 early was just this like crazy time and same thing with real estate, right? Like it was just a crazy thing and then it normalized. So I think in this normalized environment that we're at today, I don't think that it's any more competitive or anything like that. Because the thing is, in all of business, whether it's content, people come and go. People get burnt out. People have their ride doing it for a while. Like, think about how many people have been truly on the social media game for like over 5 years, like that you would know. I mean, there's not many. I mean, Cardone is one of those guys. Gary Vee is one of those guys, but there's been many people who have come and go.
Yeah, that's true. And you could say that about a lot of different, areas of business. People tend to, just by human nature, get into new things and then once they realize that it takes a little bit of work in order to get good, and it's not exciting anymore, they make that pivot.
Yeah.
And I think the key is just, figuring out a way to find something that you're excited about enough to stick through it long enough to actually get decent at it.
Yeah.
I don't think it takes a whole lot of time to get good at something. I think if you're willing to be terrible at something for 100 days straight, you're probably going to be better than most people at most things. But the problem is most people are not willing to get started.
Yeah. I mean, let me tell you this. So, back to the content competition. How many more people are out there trying to go do real estate deals versus make videos? I think there's way more people trying to do real estate. And I'm talking in the real estate space, right?
Yeah.
Out of all those people trying to get real estate deals, how many are truly trying to pursue making content?
Less than 10%.
Yeah, it's not much.
Why do you think that is?
There's a lot of reasons for it. Fear, judgment, they don't want to deal with any of that. Money, they don't want to put up the money. They don't see the ROI in doing it. I also think that, those would actually be the two. I mean, it's just like you either fear that, or you just don't see the ROI. So you don't put up the money. That's really it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely those two. And you were playing the long game. So if you don't see the ROI, you're not going to see the ROI right away.
Yeah.
And so you got to be consistent with it, and it starts to pay dividends down the road. But I don't know. I think everything is kind of going that direction, but I also think it's the cheat code. If you can become a good real estate investor and you can become decent and consistent at putting out content, I think it's a magic recipe. But I wanted to switch gears a little bit because I know you grew up playing baseball. Where did you grow up? What part of the country?
Here
in Vegas?
Yeah.
No way. I didn't know that.
Yep.
And you got drafted into minor league baseball.
Yep.
Who'd you get drafted by?
The Oakland A's.
Oakland A's.
Yep.
What was the highest level that you ever played?
High A. A lot of people they think there's only single A, double A, triple A. I mean, there's really 6 levels. There's like rookie ball, short season, low A, high A, double A, triple A. So basically, I guess the 4th highest.
How much were you making?
When I first got drafted, $1,200 a month.
Wow.
Only while I played. So 6 months out of the year, $7,000 a year.
Wow. And then where were you guys living?
Dude.
Do you guys have like crash pads?
Everywhere you could imagine. My first year, I would say most of the time I was in pro baseball, I had what's called a host family. And so you go live with, this family that the team has already selected, and they've got a home. And in some cases you pay rent, a couple $100 a month to them. In other cases, they're cool and they don't really care, and you just live there. I've also lived in apartments, and in most cases the team sets up the apartments. But like, I'll tell you, my first full season, we were in Burlington, Iowa, and it was a 2-bedroom apartment. 4 of us were living there. 3 of us were in one room. One person was in the other room because it was like one big room and one tiny room.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just such a crappy apartment. And we were paying like, I don't know, $300 a person or something.
Wow. So this is 6 months out of the year. How many games are you guys playing in a season?
140.
Wow.
Yeah.
And because I follow, all these different sports. I'm a season ticket holder for the Padres.
There you go.
And so they're always bringing people up, and then they're calling back down as people get hurt.
Yep.
But in minor league baseball, you got to get to the AAA level before the next level is the major leagues. Is that right?
It's rare. Some people will jump from AA to the big leagues, but yeah, usually you're going to go hit every level.
Yeah. And so the level that you're playing at, you guys are just trying to get to that next level, which is you said is the 1A.
Yeah. From where I was at, AA would have been the next level.
Yeah. What was that, I don't know, I guess mindset for you to where you first realized, maybe I'm going to go a different path? Because, obviously you're in real estate investing now, you're in entrepreneurship, but that probably wasn't always the case when you got into pro baseball, right?
Hey guys, for the first time ever, I'm teaching a group of driven creators how to build a 7-figure brand. When I went all in on my content only 24 months ago, I 4X'd my real estate portfolio, grew my team, and even hosted industry leaders like Grant Cardone on my podcast. Now I'm showing you how to master social media, podcasting, and brand building with proven strategies and a supportive network of business owners. Join a community that's just getting warmed up with 40 plus members and growing. So if you want to learn more to see if we can help you, visit the7figurecreator.com to book a free call with my team. Again, it's the 7, spelled like the number 7, figurecreator.com to book a free call with my team. Now back to the show.
No, I had no desire to do real estate or business or anything. All I wanted to do is play baseball. I got my real estate license in 2010, the same year I got drafted. So, I've been in real estate a long time now, over a decade. And I only got my license just to make money in the off season. It was the only career I saw that I could actually work my own schedule, do what I want, train, practice things that were important to me, and then maybe sell a house here or there. And, in 2010, it was literally the worst time to be a realtor. Realtors complain about now with rates, and they were complaining, the last couple of years because there's no inventory, but try selling a house in 2010.
What was the medium home price in Vegas back then?
That's the point. It was 100,000.
Oh my gosh. What is it today?
Like 450.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, for one, there was no buyers because everybody had just went BK or whatever. Two, getting a loan was really hard. Three, even if I did sell something, I was going to make $2,500. So it was just a brutal time to be a realtor.
Yeah.
I hated it.
I can imagine. So from there, where did you transition?
Well, so what happened was, after my third season with Oakland, I'm in spring training the next year. It's 2013. And they called me in the office and basically like, bro, you're released. And it's very difficult, when you're 23, 24 years old to like be told you're no longer good enough. It was a gut punch, dude. And
what position were you playing?
Second base.
Okay.
And they're basically like, we could try and link you up with some of these other independent teams. And I was like, nah, dude, I'm done. I'm done with baseball. And so, I go home. Also during this time, I'm engaged. And so, I'm getting ready to get married and all these things. And I'm literally at a point in my life where I have nothing because I had no money from baseball. I had already failed as a realtor those years. I hated it. I was literally substitute teaching, making $90 a day to like make money. And that was where my life was at. And I was engaged, trying to figure out what to do. Long story short, I ended up continuing to play that season. A team called me, not a major league team, but a different type of team called independent baseball. And I continued my career and, had fun. I always loved baseball. It was never about the money. I knew that there could be a big payday at the end, but I would have just played baseball for fun forever.
Is your fiance at the time, was she working too?
No. She was in college.
So this is like your sole basically source of income was a little bit of real estate on the side and then baseball.
Not even real estate at that point because I'd failed and I'd quit and I just was substitute teaching for $90 a day.
Wow.
So I'd make $1,200 a month in baseball. Then I'd make $90 a day in the off season if I felt like working. So literally I had no money. And I was cool with I make it sound bad. And I guess in hindsight, it was bad, but I didn't feel like it was bad. I just was like, whatever. I didn't care about money. And so, I ended up going and playing a season in Texas and, I come back, I get married, with no money. And,
at the courthouse.
Yeah, we get married and my wife's still in college, and so she has student loans. She's not making any money. And it was kind of like that reality check of like, what am I going to do? We love each other. And obviously she didn't marry me for the money.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, how do I be a provider now? Like I'm a husband. I'm 24 years old. My wife had just turned 21. And truthfully, this is kind of embarrassing, but like, we were like, yeah, when you're done, she was going to school to be a teacher. We were like, you're going to be making $40K a year. We're going to get health benefits. I didn't have insurance. And that's going to be our stable income. It's going to be amazing. And we were both pumped for that. I swear. And I just remember like we got married. It was October. And by the way, we're about to celebrate our 10-year this October.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And
what's your wife's name?
Mindy. Yep.
Congrats, Mindy.
Yeah, we made it. We get married and I furnished the apartment. I furnished it for $1,000 on Craigslist. And I furnished it from the money we got from wedding gifts and stuff. And so I furnished it, bought all these couches and beds and stuff. And I was like, just looking at it one day, I was like, man, I got good deals on that. Because I was always a good negotiator. And I was also a hustler. Like I would flip cell phones and flip crap on the side. I was like, what if like I just bought furniture and flipped it? It just occurred to me that maybe I could make money doing that. And so I tested it. I went and bought a couch and I brought it back to the house. And my wife was like, what the heck are you doing with a couch? Like we already have a couch. I was like, I think I'm going to make money doing it. And so I relisted on Craigslist and mark it up, made $200. I was like, dude, that was way easier than substitute teaching for 6 hours. That took me like 2 hours of work. I was like, what if I just bought a couch every day? That'd be $6,000 a month. That was my mentality. And, sure enough, that's what happened. I just started buying couches. I got a storage unit and it became like my first business. And it was like my first success. And I'll tell you, like I grew it to, $8,000 a month net. And I was like, dude, we're rich. We've made it. And I would have been like pretty happy just making $8,000 doing that.
What was the key back then to finding the best couch to flip?
Speed. That was it. Like it literally had nothing to do with condition or anything like that. It's just, there was no AI or bots like there is today. Like I've taught couch flipping now, and like to see what these guys are doing is kind of crazy with all the tech. But back then, literally
there's like professionals out there doing it right now, strategically.
Oh yeah. Because that was my first viral video. I made a couch flipping video and it went viral. It got millions and millions of views everywhere. And people like us, I am now the couch flipping like freaking Mount Rushmore.
Dude, you should have trademarked it or something.
I should have. But like these people are telling me, they tell me all the time, like, dude, I'm making $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month. Like it's crazy. And they've told me about different tools they're using and Chrome extensions and notifications and auto offers, same kind of things we use in real estate. So it's cool now. But back then, all I would do is I would sit on the couch, I'd watch TV, and I would refresh Craigslist every 30 minutes. That was my business. And then if a new couch popped up that looked interesting, I'd text them a lowball offer. And I said, I'll pick it up right now, right this moment. And most people are like, come get it. Like, I'm so happy to get rid of this. And so I'd go pick it up like on the dime, bring it back, take pictures of it, literally just the same couch, relist it 20 minutes later.
Just better photos.
Yeah. Better photos. And then I would offer free delivery. I'd say, hey, I'll deliver this for free.
That's huge.
And that was the business.
Wow. Did you ever get stuck with a couch that you couldn't sell?
No. I had bed bugs one time, so I threw it away. But, I've lost money on couches. Like I inevitably got rid of it. But,
But it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
You win on 9, you lose on 1.
Not even. I win on 99. For real. Like it's really hard to lose.
What's the most you ever made on one couch?
I think it was like 700 or 800.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's like some freaking massive sectional that was like, dude, it's the crazy thing is, now I have like that couch you're sitting on. It's so dumb to me thinking about what it costs compared to,
dude, this is a nice couch, man.
What do you think it cost?
I'm going to say $3,000.
Yeah. It was something like that. Right.
Yeah.
That couch on Craigslist might sell for like $300. Right.
Yeah.
And I might have been able to sell it for $400 to $500. It's just like, that's the game. So like, I feel bad for these people that buy these super luxe couches and they just they're not really worth anything.
Yeah. I wonder if people flip other furniture like beds and.
Oh yeah. I did that too.
Tables and chairs.
So I flipped everything.
Did you?
I flipped appliances, beds,
it's
table.
Just the couch is the one that went viral.
Yeah. Well, no, what happened was I did it all. And so I literally bought anything and everything that I thought I could make a buck on. And so after doing it for months, I started to identify couches had the best margin. Tables and everything else were also very hard to transport and not like scratch up and everything. Like couch, you could freaking abuse it. Nobody gives a crap. And I used to do them by myself. And people were like, how the heck did you do it by yourself? So I made a YouTube video. I go, literally, I'll show you what I did. And so, I had a pickup truck and I would just put the corner on there. I'd go on the other side, lift it up, push it in, and then I'd strap it and it was done. And then when I'd get to the house, I wouldn't tell them, but I'd get there. I'd be like, hey, can you help me load this into your house? And so we would carry it together into their house. But like when I got a couch for pickup, we would load it. I'd have the owner help me load it. And then when I got to the storage unit, I literally just freaking dragged that couch, like just across the asphalt, on its feet. Like you would never know.
How would you deal with people trying to lowball you? Because I'm sure that happened all the time.
You would be surprised, dude. I mean, we're real estate investors. And so like we assume that everybody's like us and we lowball and whatever. People aren't like that.
Really?
No.
Because I sold a couple like used cars when I was like younger, like low. Like my first car was a Grand Cherokee. And I remember I had like 200,000 miles on it. I remember selling it for like maybe like $3,500.
Yeah.
But like, I remember putting it on Craigslist and the people that showed up were like, hey, I got $2,000 cash and that's all I have.
I think cars are a little different. I mean, you were a car sales guy. So, like people expect to negotiate cars. With with what I was doing on couches, because I was offering free delivery, the pics weren't like, you just looked at it and people, I would say 4 out of 5 people were like, yes or no. They would just maybe ask a question like, are there any stains or rips? And as long as it's good, they're like, I'm good. Maybe then one out of 5 would be like, you know, can you knock off $100? And I'd say no.
Would you negotiate on the buy side though?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I would offer on everything. And I'd literally offer freaking $50.
I always say, I'm like, man, you don't get what you don't ask.
Yeah.
What's the worst they can say is no.
Yeah.
You know?
No, so what I didn't know from couch flipping was how much it was going to prepare me for business, because at that point I'd never really been a business guy, and I literally flipped 1,000 couches. So you think about that. I negotiated 1,000 times
transactions.
Yeah. And I lowballed 10,000 people to get those, whatever the stats were. And so I got very comfortable just making offers, talking to strangers, going in people's houses. You know, I became pretty fearless. And by the time like I got into house flipping, you know, a couple years later, I just didn't give a crap. I was like, oh, so I just make offers? That's easy. Hello, ball. I don't care what an agent says to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I always tell people, I'm like, the number one skill you can learn is sales. And so for me, you know, growing up, I got into, you know, selling cell phones at the mall. I was the guy at the kiosk, basically slanging cell phones. This is before everyone had cell phones. So people would come back from like deployment and they'd be like, hey, I need 4 cell phones for myself, my wife, and my 2 kids. And they would walk away with like 4 brand new Razor phones.
Right.
And then I got into car sales. But it's like those skills that I learned, getting the reps in, talking to people, negotiating and closing deals are paying dividends today. And so I always tell people, I'm like, man, the number one skill you can learn is sales, whether you're a bartender, a server, anything in retail or hospitality, like it's all sales.
Yeah, 100%. And you're always selling yourself to someone, right? Like I got to sell myself to my wife every day. Like for real, you can't just become a bum and expect that your marriage is going to be good. Like I got to show her that like I am worthy and like I'm improving, and you know, especially too, it's like, where are we going to go eat? You know, it's a sell. Where, you know, where are we going to vacation? You know, you're either selling and unknowingly.
I don't have kids, but I'm sure like even raising kids, it's like, you know, if you ask your kid to clean up the room before they go out and play,
oh my gosh,
and they're like, no, I'm going to go play first. It's like your kid just sold you.
No, my daughter is 3 years old and she negotiates. Like I have to negotiate with her. I'm like, Olivia, you got to go to bed. No. And I'm like, we have to go to bed. She's like, no. And I'll be like, all right, Olivia, tomorrow when we wake up, you know, we're going to turn on Moana or whatever, right when you wake up. She'd be like, okay. And then so like, she got me. She just sold me. She had to go to bed. She had no leverage yet. Now she gets to go watch Moana in the morning. I had to make a deal.
Yeah. It's literally everything. And you could argue dating as well.
Oh yeah,
you know,
for
you're selling yourself. But yeah, I always say that's number one skill that you can learn. So from there, you jump into real estate investing, you're doing flipping. What was it about flipping that caught your attention? Because with real estate, there's hundreds of ways to make money, but why'd you pick house flipping?
You know, I was praying about it, and, you know, I was on our 1-year anniversary with my wife, and, you know, couch flipping had been successful. So I was super grateful for where we were at. But at the same time, I wasn't fulfilled by it. I'm like, this is cool, but I don't even tell people what I do because it's kind of embarrassing. So, you know, I was praying and I just kind of heard God like whispering to me, real estate. And at that point, I had already given up on real estate. I sucked at it. And well, I sucked at it as a realtor, I should say. And then I see this TV commercial about real estate investing. Like, hey, you can flip with no money down and all this stuff. And I'm like, BS. Like, I've been in the game, but you can't buy houses with no money. That makes no sense. And sure enough, I just felt like God pushing me to like look more into it. So I get on Google and I start searching. I'm like, how do you flip houses with no money? And then this website, Bigger Pockets, pops up. And I'm like, what the heck is this? And so I go on the forums and I'm looking at stuff, and, you know, I see they got books, and I end up buying a book by Brandon Turner. And, you know, it's how to buy houses with like low and no money down. I'm like, all right, let's see what I don't know. And I read this book literally on our anniversary, you know, in a day. And I was like, holy crap. Like I could do that. There's literally hard money lenders. There's private lenders. There's wholesale. They don't teach you this in realtor school. So I was like, I'm flipping houses. Freaking screw these couches. Like I kept doing it because that was how we made money.
Mhm.
But I was like, I know I can flip houses. I know what houses are worth. Like I knew that with being a realtor. I just didn't like clients. But if I'm the client, I know I'll get deals. And so, yeah, I came back and I was attracted to it from the beginning because, dude, when you're broke, buying rental properties is stupid. Like these people who try to like build their portfolio, but they have no money and they're broke. I'm like, why? Like the most important thing you could do today is like fix your current situation. Start making some active income. Don't worry about the long game right now. And so that was my mindset. I'm like, let's flip, let's make some active income, and I'll worry about buying rentals down the road.
Yeah, I agree with you there, man. I feel like Bigger Pockets pushes a lot of this stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, get in real estate investing. It's all about the passive income, financial independence, reduce your expenses and go retire and live on the beach because you got a few properties and they're gonna pay for your living expenses. But it's like, dude, you're gonna get bored pretty quick. One, but number two is like, dude, how many properties are you gonna need to buy and sink 20% into in order to kind of reach that?
Where do you get the 20%?
Yeah,
but even for me, I think I was 25 or 26 years old when I was 25 when that happened. And I started listening to the podcast because I'd never understood this. And it was very early on. So I started from episode 1 and I caught up. So that was my training. I would literally pick up and deliver couches all day and listen to the podcast. And so I listened about like 3 or 4 podcasts a day and so I learned in a month. I caught up in a month and I was like, I get it. But I also don't agree with these people. Because, they'd have a lot of rental guys and multifamily guys and all this stuff. And I just remember sitting there thinking, as a guy who didn't have much money, I was like, why would I want a rental property that makes $200 a month? Why wouldn't I just flip it and make $25,000? This makes no sense. And they're like, you don't get it, Ryan. You got to have long-term wealth. And I was like, no, I can build long-term wealth at any point. Like I don't need to do it today, And that's why when people ask me, they'll say, do you regret selling any of your flips? Like, do you wish you had held them? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like I had to flip them to make money and build a life. And then, I'm going to buy thousands of rentals the rest of my life now because of what I did.
Dude, you're so right about that. And I think the perfect example is this for the listeners. It's like, if you buy a property, you improve the value, and now you had $1 million of equity, you can sell this property and take $1 million profit. Or let's say this property would cash flow, let's say $50,000 a year, and you can hold it long term. And people are like, oh, like, why are you going to sell it? Why don't you just hold it and take the $50,000 of cash flow? It's like, well, I can sell and take the $1 million profit. If I cash flow this thing, it would take me 20 years of $50,000 a year in cash flow just to break even.
Bro, so dumb.
Think about that. 20 years is a long time, man.
Well, let me add another point to this is I get a lot of people who ask me, they're like, well, what about my taxes? I need to buy rentals to lower my taxes. I'm like, you don't make money. Why are you worried about your taxes?
Yeah.
They're like, I paid 10 grand last year. I'm like, dude, let's worry about your active income. If you paid 10 grand last year, you don't have a tax problem.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. So it's like, figure out a way to increase the active income. And then once you're paying a lot of taxes, then start parking the money into some of these properties, start holding them long term, then build it that way. But I think there's always like a balancing act.
Well, I think like, even for a guy like me, I've learned to just follow what I intuitively believe. And it's always served me pretty well. It's like when I was playing baseball, people are like, dude, you got to like go figure out how to make more money. And I'm like, nah, dude, this is a once in a lifetime thing. Like once my career's over, it's over. I'll make money. I'll figure it out. Like I don't need to make it today. And, I start flipping and people think I'm crazy because I max out all my credit cards and I get these high interest loans and I'm buying homes in the ghetto. And literally my mom, who was a realtor, was like, don't do that. I'd go to meetups and people are like, dude, don't do that. Like you got to buy in the nice areas. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. I'm looking at the numbers. It checks out to me. And so, I did it. And truthfully, I was probably one of the first guys here in Vegas to really take advantage of that. And then other people started copying, but that's a whole nother story. Then, the social media thing, I'm starting TikTok and all this stuff and just doing it. And people are like, shouldn't you be out closing deals? Shouldn't you be? I'm like, I don't know. I think this thing's going to be pretty big. And so it's like, I've kind of always just gone against conventional wisdom and everything I've done, because if it makes sense to me and nobody can give me a good reason why my logic, doesn't make sense, then I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. I think, I experienced the same thing, like just through all the steps that I took to get to, where I'm at today, is like cashing out the 401k to buy my first deal.
Yeah. People just say you're dumb.
Everyone told me I was crazy.
Yeah.
Coworkers, friends, even some family thought I was crazy. And like, dude, they would outline all the risk. And then it was like, okay, then I went to start raising money. People are like, why are you doing that? That's risky. So like, what do you tell those folks out there that, are trying to learn something new, but they got family members and friends telling them it's too risky?
Yeah. I mean, look, my mom did the same thing. My friends did the same thing. And also too, man, I'm so grateful where the world is today, where there are communities where you can be a part of that think like you. It's like, we've had thousands of students in our coaching programs, and like, you get these like-minded people who are like, no, you're not crazy, dude. Like, I'm doing that and it's working. And it brings you encouragement. It brings you, confidence and everything else. So my first suggestion would be to get into some kind of community with like-minded people. Second thing would be, look, if you have an actual plan that, has been proven time and time again by others, have confidence in following it, right? Like, now, if you're trying something completely out of the box that you've never heard before or done before, you have no idea if it's going to work. Like, all right, well, it is a gamble. I'm not saying it won't work, but it's much easier to follow a system.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. It's like getting plugged into the right groups is huge, because you might go to a family member and they might say, wow, that deal's way too big. It's way too risky. But then you plug into the right group and that person might say, hey, you're thinking too small.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, that deal's risky to you. It's a freaking walk in the park.
Are you plugged into masterminds, like other people's masterminds? Well, I know you got a few of your own.
Yeah.
I'm a part of your Wealthy Creator Mastermind, but are you a part of other groups as well?
Yeah, I've been in Collective Genius for a while. And
what's that one?
It's a real estate mastermind. I forget what the requirements are, but you got to be doing a certain amount of deals or units and things like that. And I've been there for a few years and met some amazing people who have helped my business for sure. I'm also part of a group called YPO, which is an entrepreneur mastermind. Well, I shouldn't even say entrepreneur, just business. And that's probably, honestly, the biggest and most influential mastermind in the world.
From a networking standpoint?
Yeah, because like, I don't even know how much I'm allowed to talk about it, but it's big. So that one's very huge. I think we were talking about development earlier. It's like, I had a development idea, and I just put it in like the literally the worldwide real estate group, and I had like 6 people reach out, like, oh yeah, we developed this freaking $1 billion resort that like I did it, and I'm like, okay, so we'll just talk about it. He's like, yeah, hit me up whenever you want to talk about it. Actually, that's why I'm going to San Diego. One of those guys is out there, and
what's his name?
I can't say on here, but yeah, I'm just like, this is crazy. So yeah, masterminds have helped me a lot, and I've been in a bunch of other things too.
Yeah, I feel you there, man. So with all this, I mean, you basically were broke. Yeah. With the baseball coming to an end.
I was broke a long time.
And so you've built this entire thing to where you are today. But like, I guess I'm curious, like, what is your biggest maybe takeaway from where you were then to where you are now? Because you're seeing life in 2 completely different perspectives.
That was the number one thing I learned from baseball. I watched the best players in the world to ever play the game. And I saw these guys, like what they did every day. And it was the exact same. They'd wake up, they'd eat the same food, freaking hit the same balls, throw, work out the same way. It was just consistency. When I went into business, it was the same thing. I'm like, I'm gonna wake up at the same time. I'm gonna do the same things. I'm gonna strategize and find a strategy that I think is going to work for me. And I'm just gonna do it every day, day in and day out. And once you find what works for you, now it's just a time game, and you just keep doing it every day. And so I think that's what happened to me was for 10 years straight, I've just kind of like done this thing, and the rewards are compounding year over year.
So with all this, I mean, you basically were broke. Yeah. With the baseball coming to an end.
I was broke a long time.
And so you've built this entire thing to where you are today. But like, I guess I'm curious, like, what is your biggest maybe takeaway from where you were then to where you are now? Because you're seeing life in two completely different perspectives.
Here's the thing. I wouldn't even say I was broke. There's like that saying that like being broke is a mindset, right? Or being poor is a mindset. And like, I truly did not feel like I was broke. At no point did I think, man, my life sucks. This is terrible. I can barely put food on the table. Like, it was never like that. I knew, I was like, all right, well, if this is what we make, okay, well, we're not going to eat out. We're not going to do this. Like, we're going to live very frugally. And we did for many years. And we were content living frugally. We didn't need nice stuff. So even then I didn't feel broke, and I didn't feel like the need to go and try and make all this money. And truthfully, I mean, I've been married 10 years now, broke, financially, but not character. Like, I was still, dude. I mean, even then I had the confidence I have today where I'm like, I'm a bad dude. Like, I can dominate whatever I want. It's just a matter of right now my focus is on baseball, and that's all I care about. And the fact is, when you're playing baseball in the minor leagues, there's no other way to make more money than to get to the big leagues. There's no path other than just doing what I'm doing. And so I never lacked confidence because, I mean, I grew up literally just, I don't even know how to say it, like just dominating. Like, I was on varsity as a freshman. I was an All-American. I was a straight A student. I graduated college in 3.5 years. Like, I've always been good at whatever I put my mind to. And so I just knew like I was going to have success. I didn't know what it would be in. So like for the last 10 years, my mindset really has never changed. It's just been the results are finally catching up, I guess, with what my mind has always believed. And the next 10 years, I don't know. Right. Like, I remember sitting, I started to have some success in 2018. That was the first year I made over $1 million. And
that was through what vehicle?
Flipping houses.
Okay.
Yeah. So we made $2 million that year flipping houses. And it was my first ever year being an entrepreneur full time. So 2017, I retired from baseball. I flipped probably 50 houses while I played baseball once I figured it out. So 2018 is my first full year as an entrepreneur. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I should like get an office and like do this legit, because I was just like me and one guy helping me like check on properties and stuff. And so 2018, I'm like, well, what do people do when they're business people? I was like, I think they go to like events and stuff. And so I went to GrowthCon because I had heard about this guy, Grant Cardone, and it was here in Vegas. So I went to GrowthCon, and I remember walking in the Mandalay Bay. I'll never forget. I mean, it was 2018. And at that point, in my mind, I was already a baller and I was a beast because, I was making really good money. And I'm looking around at all the people around me, and I'm looking at Grant and all these people on stage, and like 10,000 people there. And I'll never forget, in my mind, I was like, all right, like, I'm going to eat these guys lunch one day. And that was my mindset. And I was like, I'll be on that stage one day, and I'm probably going to have my own event just as good. And that was 2018. I hadn't accomplished anything. Like, nobody.
And at the time, 2018, no one knew who you were.
No one knew who I was. But my mindset, like, I just knew, and I had confidence. And, sure enough, like 5 years later, here we are, all those people on stage, they're all buddies of mine now. They've sat in this office. We've done things together. I haven't had a 10,000 person event yet because I don't necessarily want to right now, but I know I could do it for sure. And, we have 1,000 person plus events every quarter called WealthCon that are crazy. And, I guess the point is you got to have belief in yourself before you ever achieve anything great. Like, you have to truly believe in what you're doing, because the last 10 years have been really hard. It didn't come easy, right? You could have all the belief in the world. And also too, I'll say, I wasn't like delusional. Like, I meet people who are delusional. Like, I'm going to do this. And I'm like, no, you're not. Like, you have no plan to actually go about it and do it. You say it. It's like the people who put future billionaire. I'm like, well, let's be a millionaire first, before we start doing that, right? Let's go one step at a time. And so, I've always just, I never lacked confidence, and it's always been on the borderline of like, not getting to the point of, I guess, arrogance and delusional and all that, but you have to like tread that line lightly.
So would you say for anyone out there to get to where you were 10 years ago to where you are today, would you say it's more so mindset and believing it and having the confidence, or would you say it's more so strategy and execution?
I think everything plays a role, right? Part of your strategy is having the right mindset. I meet a lot of guys who they're kind of like this all the time. And the reason is, they just cannot control their mindset. It's like, oh, I struggle with anxiety. Well, that's a mindset issue. You can say, whatever, it's genetics, but it's a mental health issue. That's mindset. And so I believe that anybody can fix those issues. If you take the right steps. Now, if you're like, I struggle with anxiety, I struggle with fear and all these things. Well, all right, well, let's come up with a plan that is going to help you get free of that so that you can start a routine that's not going to allow you that. Because most people that are inconsistent, it's because they don't have a proper routine. If you don't have a proper routine, how would you have any consistency? That was the number one thing I learned from baseball was like, I watched the best players in the world to ever play the game. And I saw these guys, like what they did every day. And it was the exact same. They'd wake up, they'd eat the same food, they'd freaking hit the same balls, work out the same way. It was just consistency. And, when I went into business, it was the same thing. I'm like, I'm gonna wake up at the same time. I'm gonna do the same things. I'm gonna strategize and find a strategy that I think is going to work for me. And I'm just gonna do it every day, day in and day out. And once you find what works for you, now it's just a time game and you just keep doing it every day. And so I think that's what happened to me was for 10 years straight, I've just kind of like done this thing and the rewards are compounding year over year.
Yeah, that's so good. Now, I will say though, like with, a professional athlete, let's say baseball, for example, these guys are doing, let's say you're a pitcher, like that's all you're doing is pitching every single day and you become the best at becoming a pitcher that you possibly can. But I think there's also like something to be said about, entrepreneurship and real estate investing. It's like, we're always pivoting. I mean, this probably better than me. It's like every week we're pivoting.
Yep.
And I think that's like those who pivot win, but you got to have some sort of like target. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you might be pivoting back and forth, but you're moving the needle closer and closer to that target. So eventually you do get there. And I always talk to my team. I'm like, hey, like we know where we're going. I don't know how we're going to get there, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, we're going to get there.
Yeah.
So either you're on board or you're not, but we're going there. That's where the ship's going.
Yeah. A lot of people, especially on my team, are very, very detail oriented and you got to have a balance, right? You need somebody who's crazy and got big vision. You also need people who are detailed. Like, well, how are we going to do this, dude? Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, those people annoy the crap out of me. And I love them.
What role are you? You're the visionary?
Yeah. I don't know how we're going to do anything. Mm-hmm. I'm like, hey, this is what we're going to do. They're like, okay, so like, how are we going to go about it? I'm like, I don't know yet, but this is what we're going to do. And, here's when we're going to do it by. Okay. Those are your parameters. Figure out the how. Mm. And, when I get inspired for a big idea, I was telling you about the brand blueprint earlier. Yeah. Like I had this idea, maybe like a month ago. I was like, this is what we need to do. And they're already asking all these questions like, okay, what time would we call the person? How long is that call going to be? What are the questions to ask? Like they're getting caught up in the details. And I'm like, guys, don't worry about that right now. We need to understand the big picture of it. What would they want as the end result if they were to buy this? And so let's just get the end result in play here. Okay. They want, this, they want these assets. They want this plan. Boom, boom, boom. They would pay this much for it. That's our projection. All right, cool. Now that this is done, you can go figure out all the other crap. Because if you try to figure out all the stuff before the end, what ends up happening is you create something that's very limited versus giving yourself the parameter of the beginning and the end. And you say, if this is what I want to happen, now I'm going to fill it in accordingly. But if you say, oh, this is the idea, let's just go through it step by step by step, you end up somewhere you may or may not have intended to go.
That's so good. How do you determine, because I'm starting to, get a lot more opportunities thrown my way. People want to partner. They have all these different business ideas. And I also think of a lot of ideas myself, but on your end, how do you determine whether an opportunity is worth taking the time to go and start this new venture versus, hey, you know what? It's not for me right now.
I think I hear a lot of good ideas that I will say, yes, that's a good idea, but the timing is not right. And the reason being, I'm probably working on some other good idea. And like what a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with is they get lots of good ideas and they try to do them all at once. And so I don't do that. I am very like, even though there's a lot of things it seems like going on, I do it one brick at a time. And so it's like, okay, you're in Wealthy Creator. The idea of Wealthy Creator happened a year before Wealthy Creator was ever a thing. It's like, man, everybody's asking me, how can we get better at creating social media content? Can you train us? And I'm like, no, not right now. I got too many other things on my plate that I'm worried about. And then there was a time when it finally made sense. And I said, okay, cool. I'm going to focus on this now. And then boom, you focus on it, you launch it. And now we're about a year into it and we have a year of data to improve it now. It's like, all right, cool. Let's add these other elements to it now that we know who our people are, what their problems are, what they need as solutions. Because you don't know, what those are going to be until you actually launch. And that's what I'm talking about with the details. It's like, we're going to go into it with a game plan and, we think it's great. And there's going to be a lot of things that need to change as time goes on. And that's totally fine.
Yeah, I agree. Do you also like put in weight in terms of your decision that like, is this going to wrap around the rest of the businesses versus, or is it going to like completely pull our attention in another direction?
So I think, well, to be clear, like all my businesses have their own operator. And so that's all they focus on. They ain't worried about anything else. And so my parent company, Pineda Company, has a whole C-suite. And so our intention is to acquire new businesses or start new businesses and amplify the current businesses, continue to help them grow. So on the Pineda Company level, really what we're looking at is I have my own ideas of startups. That's where they all come from. I get inspired. I do something. We were talking about peptides and stuff earlier. And I was like, I just literally went through the process of like doing it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a no-brainer. Like this industry and, how many people are going to be buying this stuff in the coming years. Like I predict, just like I did social media, 3+ years ago, I predict the biohacking space is going to be stupid. Like it's already like people are getting key to it. Like you see everyone talking about cold plunges and peptides and all like, trust me, 3 years from now, it's going to be huge. So,
well, Grant Cardone has the 10X Health.
Yeah, he has 10X Health. And I've talked to Gary Brecka. He's sat there. I've talked to Brandon Dawson, who's the CEO. And like hearing from them confirms what I already perceive, just watching social media. When I post about it, people are like, dude, like, where do I get it? I want to start too, So that to me is like an example of how it happens, where it's like, I see the demand. I do it myself. I am my own client for a product. I know other people will like it too. Because if I like it, that's literally a great sign that other people will like it. So like that's how startups happen. Now, the acquisition side is interesting because that was something I was never focused on. I've started every company from zero. And
how long ago did you decide, hey, we're going to start acquiring pre-existing companies?
Hey guys, for the first time ever, I'm teaching a group of driven creators how to build a 7-figure brand. When I went all in on my content only 24 months ago, I 4x my real estate portfolio, grew my team, and even hosted industry leaders like Grant Cardone on my podcast. Now I'm showing you how to master social media, podcasting, and brand building with proven strategies and a supportive network of business owners. Join a community that's just getting warmed up with 40+ members and growing. So if you want to learn more to see if we can help you, visit the7figurecreator.com to book a free call with my team. Again, it's the 7, spelled like the number 7, figurecreator.com to book a free call with my team. Now back to the show.
This year was really like the year we decided that we were going to do it.
And how'd that come to fruition?
I mean, you watch these guys like Hormozy and Cardone and Cody Sanchez and people like who are friends, and they're all doing it. And you start to ask yourself, why are they doing it? And you start to, in my case, you start to ask them directly why they do it. And you start to realize like, okay, I see why you do it. This is a very good opportunity. And also to be brutally honest, yes, I had value to add to businesses and companies before, but I feel like I was not adequate enough yet in my own businesses to really start saying, hey, you know what? Give me equity in your company and we're going to take this thing to the moon. I felt like I still had to learn a lot of things organizationally, and, offer wise and product wise and marketing wise, and the things that are going to really help it scale. And so like, I don't even market it that much because truthfully, like, yeah, we get a lot of people who want to partner up and it's great. And, we're doing deals with them and like, we're working through the process of like, okay, you know what? This is what it's like to work with other people. These are the things they're expecting. Here's, that. And I know we're going to perfect it as time goes on. And at that point, then, maybe it becomes a bigger thing. And I just know too, like as my track record gets better, we do more deals, we exit some companies, we do all that, then it becomes infinitely easier. So it's like for that one, it's a slow process. Like I'm not trying to like do it all fast. It's like, I want to organically do it.
And I think from a time perspective, you're picking the right spot to do it, similar to when you got into the content and you went on the content in 2020 during the pandemic. Well, same thing here, buying small businesses that are existing because you got this baby boomer generation. That's the wealthiest generation in the history of America.
Yeah.
They hold, I think, about $58 trillion worth of wealth.
Yeah.
And they're all going to be retiring between now and the next 7 years. A lot of these businesses, they're going to be dying because the kids don't want them. And so there's an opportunity to come in and pick up a lot of pre-existing businesses that are proven out, that cash flow for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to be able to do that. You're going to be able to bundle them up, portfolio them. But to be truthful, I'm not even really interested in those. Like I know Cody is all about the laundromats and those kinds of things. I'm very much into I'm basically open to everything, but it's got to have a big payday. Like I would rather focus all my time and energy on like one company that we can have a big exit versus like acquiring a bunch of these little things.
Right. You're never going to have the big payday for like a laundromat.
No. So it's like, we're doing a SaaS company right now. It can be a big payday. We're working on a wealth firm that's already got, a lot of money under management. We're working on, franchise opportunity, so like I'm looking at the really big ones. Like if it can't exit for, multiple 8 figures, like a lot minimum, then I don't really want to do it.
What's your search criteria? So if I'm a business broker, I'm like, hey, Ryan, what is your search criteria in terms of what are you looking for? What is that criteria?
Honestly, I'm not even like looking for business brokers. It's all just coming from organic. I mean, honestly, what's really happening is by throwing so many events, lots of people come through the door and they want to grow their business. That's why they're going to the events, right? And somehow we get connected through one of these various ways. And, when it makes sense, I'm like, hey, you know what? I actually want to talk to you a little deeper about something else. Like, I don't think you should get the brand blueprint. I don't think you should get whatever. Let's talk about like, if you get me.
That's powerful, man.
Yeah. So that's how it's happening.
Yeah. Dude, I was watching, I was at the gym the other day and they like had ESPN up there and it was like some UFC thing, but they were doing cold plunges. And I saw Grant Cardone's 10X Health all over.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, this guy's he's on ESPN now. Marketing genius.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So 10X, like I said, they're going to be huge. I mean, I believe they'll be $1 billion company just in that company.
Yeah. No, it's huge. I mean, you got UFC fighters using it. So we are on your podcast recently, like just an hour ago, we're talking and the conversation kind of took a turn. We're talking about lifting weights. We're talking about guys on gear. And you mentioned, hey, you're going to be starting a company in that space. Tell me a little bit about that company. What's your vision?
I mean, look, I'm not, I don't know when it will happen. I mean, like I said, I always want to do things myself before ever like just jumping into it. And so it's like, I just went through the process. I'm still going through the process and, 90 days from now, let's see how freaking jacked I am. like for real, like, let's see. Cause I really haven't changed my workout or my diet that much. And so I really want to get a true case study of how does this impact, everything else. And so,
and you're 3 weeks in, how do you feel 3 weeks in so far?
Dude, I got a lot of energy. I've gained about 4 pounds of muscle. It's crazy, dude. Freaking crazy. So yeah, that's why I think this stuff is going to blow up as it becomes just more and more known and out there. And, like, because to be truthful, I never heard of anyone having low T 5 years ago. Like that just wasn't a discussion that I was hearing about. And then all of a sudden, maybe in the last year, I just start hearing my friends talking. And maybe it's just because I'm getting older, but I don't think that's been a thing until recently where it's like, oh, dude, I have low T. Yeah, I have testosterone. I have you start talking to all these guys and I'm like, well, you're getting your testosterone from somewhere and you're paying monthly for it. It's the ultimate subscription business. Once you're in, you're doing it forever. And so I just look at it all and I'm like, man, this improves people's lives. They're going to do it anyway. It's a great business. And yeah, I mean, there's obviously like a lot of things to go along with it to make it work. And you got to be a great marketer and you've got to when you've got, like drugs and stuff, like it's a whole different ball game.
Different ball game.
Yeah. Like there's a lot that goes into it. So, I'm not anywhere close to, doing it, but like it's already in my mind as one of those businesses where I'm like, hey, it is going to happen. And it's kind of a running joke, but like it is true. I've talked about health so much in everything I do. And I'm a human guinea pig, dude.
Dude, I'm shocked that you work out in home by yourself with the TV on watching golf.
I love it.
You're probably the only person I know that lifts weights while watching golf.
Well, yeah, there's probably these old guys that are on like the treadmill and the elliptical that watch golf, but yeah, they're not, lifting 275.
No. How many times did you rep 275?
Did it 24 times, but they were spread out over sets, guys, not 24 times in a row.
Yeah. What about like if you're doing bench with dumbbells, how much can you rep?
Well, I only have my Bowflex dumbbells now, which go up to 90, so I don't really use them.
We got to get you some new dumbbells, man.
Well, my gym's not big enough to get like a whole rack. So the Bowflex, like it does it good, but, I don't know. I mean, back in the day when I was at the gym, I could do like the 120s and that was like the biggest one.
That's solid.
Yeah.
So tell me about your house. You recently bought a new house. How long ago?
Well, I bought it a year and a half ago, but I bought it as the guy was doing a new build, ran out of money, and I bought it, finished it, put over $1 million into it, and we moved in this year.
I love that.
Yeah.
How big is it?
6,000.
How many bedrooms?
It's a 5.5, 6-car, half acre. Beautiful home.
Yeah, I always see you doing the car videos on social.
Yeah.
How many cars do you have?
What's funny is I'm not even a car guy.
Yeah.
Like, when I first became a millionaire, in 2017, 2018, I was still driving like a $10,000 Volkswagen. Like I just never cared because I was so frugal back then. I was still like living in my frugal ways, even though I was making money. And I finally started spending money around like 2019. But yeah, like even though I say I'm not a car guy, I switch cars every year just because I'm like a bored guy. And so, I went from like a Volkswagen, Tiguan, like the girliest, dumbest car, to a $20,000 Lexus RX used, like a 2013. It was like, I thought it was like super luxe. And then I go and get, a 2017 Lexus RX that is like the new body style and stuff. And I'm like, this is great. Then, 2020 COVID hits and stuff, and we got another kid on the way. And I'm like, you know what? We need a third row. And so I get a Tesla Model X, like spent 80 grand used. And I was like, dang, this was a big purchase, man. And, I got a Tesla. And then, we got my wife a Navigator. Then I got rid of the Tesla and got a Porsche. Then
which Porsche did you have?
Taycan.
Did you like it?
I love it. That car is actually the longest car I've ever had. So I had it for 2 years. That's the longest. And
was that the favorite car you've ever had?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got the Porsche, and then my wife, we got her the Escalade. We traded the Navigator because we wanted like the super long one. And earlier this year, actually, we've gone through a lot of cars now I think about it. I had a Rivian that I had pre-ordered for like 3 years, and it finally came. And I drove it for like a month, and I was like, yeah, it's whatever. And I flipped it and made like 30 grand.
Yeah. You weren't feeling the Rivian?
No. And then Tesla dropped like all their prices this year. I was like, dude, I'll buy a Model Y. Like they were like 55 grand. brand new. I was like, so I bought a Model Y. I drove it for like 6 months, and then we had a third kid. And I was like, all right, now we really need a third row. Like, this ain't it. So I got a Model X. And so now,
dude, that's like 17 cars in the last 5 years.
I know. And I say I'm not a car guy, but like, I don't know, maybe I am. But we have 3 cars.
Yeah.
We have a Porsche, an Escalade, and a Model X.
But you're not, because I see a lot of people out there doing real estate content, and they're flossing like, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, all these nice cars. And you could, but you're like, yeah, I got a Model Y, And
Yeah.
so I see that. I'm like, okay, this guy's pretty humble with the cars, even though you're buying 17 of them.
Well, like they're, I don't know. I don't know why I buy them, but I've just never really wanted like a Ferrari or anything. When I've had a bunch of partners who've had Ferraris and Lambos, I literally have had no desire. And I actually really like electric cars. So like the Taycan is electric. It's amazing. The Model X is electric, obviously. And then I saw Escalade's releasing an electric Escalade next year. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're getting that.
That's sick.
Yeah.
We got to get you one exotic at some point. We'll get you in fast lane drive.
I know they're not going to respect the Taycan, huh? They won't
let you in.
Yeah.
Well, there actually is someone with a Taycan that was in there.
Like even
that was actually in the rally that I did last week, and they had a Taycan.
Yeah. I mean, the Taycan's MSRP is $200,000, so it's an expensive car. But the reason I liked the Taycan was because it was a 4-seater, and it's like a very comfy, sporty 4-seater. Like, it's awesome.
It's probably the sexiest like sedan. What would you call it? Would you call it a 4-door coupe?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably the sexiest 4-door coupe out in the market today.
No, I love it.
It's got aggressive lines, nice and clean.
It's sick. It's literally, I mean, it handles so good. I did a YouTube video before I bought it, and it was this whole series I did on Turo, and it did really good. But part of that series, I said, you know what? I'm going to rent 5 cars on Turo, 5 exotics or cars I'm interested in, and I'm going to test drive them all, and I'm going to pick one to buy. And so I test drove an R8. I test drove a Lambo. I test drove, what else I get? A Mercedes GT, the Taycan, and then what was the other one? I don't remember.
So Taycan was number 1 out of that group. What was number 2?
I like the Mercedes GT.
Okay.
Yeah. I did not like the Lambo. I mean, I drove it. I'm like, dude, I do not want to drive this every day. It's so low. Getting in sucks.
You probably see a lot of those out here in Vegas, huh? Just driving around.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of Lambos, but yeah, after doing it, I was torn between the Taycan and the Mercedes. And at the end of the day, I was like, dude, the Taycan's where it's at.
Yeah. So for someone that buys all these cars, is it better to lease or to buy?
I've never leased a car. Honestly, people will always like be one way or the other. I've really never looked at the mechanics of a lease and like why it could be better or not.
Mm-hmm.
I just in my mind want to own it.
Yeah.
And I don't want any restrictions on, you can only drive it this many miles. Like, no, I'm not trying to do that.
Yeah. One of my friends, and he's an investor of ours. He's the manager of the Ferrari dealership here in San Diego. And I was like talking to him the other day. I'm like, hey, like, how is this interest rate environment affecting these like high-end exotic cars? He's like, dude, honestly, like the higher end stuff is like not being affected at all because those buyers just pay cash.
Yeah.
He's like, the 100,000 and under, those are the ones that finance and they lease. Those ones are being affected. But he's like, the higher end cars, he's like, those guys just drop cash.
Yeah. What I realized too, talking to a lot of my buddies who are in like car clubs and stuff, they're like, oh yeah, no, I get a new Ferrari and I could flip it for like $100,000 if I wanted. And I can still drive it for like 6 months and like still flip it and make, I'm like, what? I'm like, then I'd own a Ferrari if you told me I could drive it for free and make money. Like, okay.
Right. Yeah. Like so I bought the R8 and up until this point I was leasing a lot because I like to just, it's nice to like, hey, drive for 3 years. Yeah. I get bored. I turn it in. Here's the keys.
That's actually why I don't lease because I've never had a car 3 years. It's like every year.
You might not make it to 3 years.
I know I won't make it to 3 years.
You got to find like a 12-month lease.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even that might be a stretch for you.
Yeah. The Model Y lasted 6 months. The Rivian lasted 1 month.
Right. So I was like, I found out the Audi R8 is going to go out of production this year. The 2023 model year is the last year.
What are they doing?
They're basically going to discontinue it. They're going to bring out an electric version, but like not till 2029.
Of course they are.
And so I got some buddies that are in the car space and like, hey, you should pick up this car. It will probably hold its value pretty well. So I decided to buy that one.
How much was it?
I bought it used. It was a 2021 with 10,000 miles. I picked it up for about $190 out the door.
Dang.
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, I get it now. I'm like driving around, I'm like, okay, I get it. I get it why people with the exotics, they tend to just collect them.
Yeah.
And they just buy more, especially if they're going to hold their value well. But it's been fun to drive. And then getting in a fast lane, I was like, okay, I'm not a big car guy, but after doing that rally last weekend, I was like, okay, I get it.
Well, maybe they'll let me in with the Taycan. Probably not, but
yeah. So question for you, man. So you dye your hair these different colors.
Mhm.
Why do you dye your hair?
I think it looks cool.
Yeah.
So the way it originally started was, I've been doing my hair like this, not dyed, but the style for a long time. And people would always tell me, they're like, dude, you got like really cool hair. And because it like naturally does this. I don't need to blow dry it or anything.
Yeah, you do have great hair, by the way.
Thank you.
For the listeners that are listening and not watching, Ryan's always dialed to a T with the hair, the hairline and everything.
Yep. So, when I got on YouTube, the number one thing people were saying early on, they're like, dude, look at this guy's hair. It's freaking either incredible or so stupid. There was no in between. It was just like, why do you do your hair like that? Or dude, you're blessed. And I didn't think it, I was just like, why is this such a big deal? To me, it was just me. And in 2021, I was like, you know what? Let's just lean into the hair. And so I dyed it blue just for fun. And, people went crazy. They're like, dude, what the heck is this guy doing? And then I dyed it red. Then I dyed it blonde, green, purple. I had orange earlier. Now I'm red again.
Is there any rhyme or reason to the different colors and in correlation to how many views or plays you might get?
I tell people that all the time, just like I don't know, just see what people will do. So I'll be like, red's the best performing color, like, statistically speaking. And they'll be like, really? And I'll be like, I have no idea. Like, but no, I don't track it. Cause I don't do it for that. But I think it is very obvious, without any real data tracking, but just, subjectively looking at it. I think it does get more views.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. It's like, most people are visual people, right?
Yeah.
So if I go to like a nice restaurant and I look at the menu, if the menu has photos, I'm actually like probably read what is in that item. But if it doesn't have photos, I might just skip through it. So it kind of makes sense.
You want to know what I'm thinking when you just said that?
What?
If you're at a restaurant that has photos on the menu, you're probably at a cheap restaurant.
That's a good point. That is a good point. I'm thinking it's funny because when I was describing that to you, I was thinking of sitting in a pho restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I love Vietnamese
I'm like,
food.
I can't think of any nice restaurant where they had photos of food.
That's true. So let's say at a low end restaurant, the ones with the photos will definitely catch my attention.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And like I said, at this point, I go natural for like half the year and, I dye it. Like basically what I do is I dye it and then I just let it grow out. Whatever, like once it grows out, it's done and that's cool.
Yeah. Do you have a barber?
Yeah.
That comes into the office or where do you do your hair?
Mondays at my house.
At your house?
Yeah.
I just started, because I had a barber and he was like a bit downtown, but it would take me 20 minutes to go over there, 20 minutes to get back. And he's like the best barber in town. And so then I'd also have to book him.
Yep.
And like sometimes his schedule would be booked up and I'd be like, fuck, it's Friday.
Yeah.
And I got to get my cut with some random person. And I was just like, dude, it was taking me so much time back and forth. And so I said, his name's Oscar. I said, Oscar, hey, what are the chances you can just come to my office every Friday, 11 o'clock, same time, and I'll pay you $150.
Yep.
And he's like, dude, I love it. And so we just started doing that a month ago and it's been the best thing ever. I don't have to think about it. It saves me time. It's a win-win for both of us.
That's exactly what I do now. $150 comes every Monday, 7:30 a.m. right after my lift. The first thing I do to start the week and, then go to the office and looking fresh and for all the videos and podcasts. And now that I have a beard, that cost that, used to be like $100 and then I got a beard. And so we started trimming that. And then, I made him come earlier because he used to come at like 9. I was like, I need to start my day earlier. We get it. He's like, you need to pay me more. I'm like, all right, whatever. So now we're chilling and it's good.
How do you normally start your day? Do you start it with a workout first thing?
Yeah.
What time do you wake up?
5.
Okay. And then what do you do?
I read my Bible. I pray. I created a planner called the Wealthy Way Planner. Anyone can get it for free on the App Store.
Where can they get that?
Just Google Wealthy Way on the App Store or search it. So it's completely free. Or like, actually, we have a ton of free stuff at wealthyway.com. But so I created this planner, honestly, just for me. And then, everybody else uses it and it's great. And so I go through the planner, look at goals, write things like in the planner, you can write things you're grateful for, journal, all these things. And like it has a habit feature. So I have to check whether or not I, like basically did my 3 habits. So currently they always change as I like have different priorities, but my 3 current habits are, it'll ask me, did you read a book yesterday? Did you say I love you to Mindy? Did you, what's my third one right now? For a while it was Duolingo because I'm trying to learn Spanish. But right now, what is the third one?
Mi español es muy mal.
Yeah. Yo también, right? So, I forgot what the third one, my third habit I'm working on right now. I can't believe I've forgotten. But anyways, did we pray together as a family? That's the third one right now. So I want to make sure I get all my kids and pray together at night. So anyways, I do all that in the morning. I memorize Bible verses, all that. It takes about an hour. And, from there I go hit the gym downstairs at 6:30, 7:30, work out. 7:30, I have different things depending on the day. So like 7:30 and Mondays, I'm at the barber. 7:30 on Tuesdays, I go get a golf lesson. 7:30 on Wednesdays, we have our Bible study here at the office. 7:30 on Thursdays, I have a free day, which was today. So I actually go to the range and go hit balls. Fridays, I don't work. So I golf and have fun.
What time are you using starting your day in the office?
I get to the office usually at 9 or 10.
And what time are you out of here?
5.
And would you say the majority of your time is spent doing content, mastermind, webinar? What would you say, like from a just high level perspective?
The high level is, I would say 1/3 is spent on content. 1/3 is spent on like strategic meetings with either my current team or, new people I want to do business with, like those, meetings. And then 1/3, I would say, is spent on working in the business / developing the next thing. So it's like in the business would be, hey, I'm looking at deals. Hey, I got a coaching call. Hey, we got a new event coming up. Like, let me review the event and make sure this is what we got to do. Hey, we're launching a new product or a new offer. Like, let's do that.
How many people would you say are in this building, like team members total? I know you got multiple businesses, but how many would you say amongst everyone that you got here work here?
Well, everyone works here for me.
Right.
But I would say, if we have 100 employees ish across all the companies, let's say 50 are in the office, 50 are remote.
And how do you operate? Do you have an operating system? Like which one do you guys use?
So we use one called Rise,
Okay.
which is from my business coach, Gary Harper. And, we have a program called Wealthy Business where that's what we teach.
Got it. Yeah, we use EOS from Traction.
That's how we started.
Yeah. So moving forward, man, what's next on the horizon for you as you look out to the next 6 to 12 months? What are you most excited for?
The cool thing is when you got like a lot of different things going on, it's like very fun and exciting. Like I don't feel like my life's boring at all. I think like if I was just only flipping houses, it'd be very boring. So I'm always excited to know that 12 months from now, there's going to be some new thing I'm doing that I had no idea about today. And so that's really exciting.
Yeah, I agree, man. People are always like, what's your 5-year goal, 10-year goal? I'm like, well, I'm not thinking past this year.
Yeah.
Because what I think I want 5 years from now is going to be different when I get there. And if it's not different, that means I'm not growing.
Yeah. I 100% agree. So I'm excited just to like knowing that is my life. So that's cool. I have a thing called Wealthy Kingdom that we launched that's becoming a nonprofit. And so it's for Christian entrepreneurs. And, as I was explaining, like faith is a big element of everything we do. And, like the Bible study I was telling you about that we do every Wednesday. I've been doing that for 5 years and it's changed my life. It's changed, everyone that attends, sometimes we have 20 people in there. And I made the decision that I wanted to launch these Bible studies in this community nationwide. And so we started in May and, we have 40 Bible studies nationwide right now. And then we got 60 right now in the queue that are going to launch here in like the next month. And so 12 months from now, I'm very excited to see what all of it looks like.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Dude, it's been a pleasure, man. I appreciate you having me out to Vegas. I mean, just being on your podcast and then, you know, being able to interview now, man, it's definitely been inspiring. I'm a huge fan of everything you're doing, dude. And looking forward to see where you go next, brother.
Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate everything you're doing, man. And I'm inspired to see all the success you're having with your podcast and everything else. And, you know, inspiring people that, you know, are scared to maybe quit their job or cash out their 401k and like showing them that, hey, you know, it can be worth it.
Yeah. There's a whole nother ball game out there, man.
Yeah.
If you're out in San Diego in a few weeks, let me know. Let's definitely connect, dude. I'd love to.
Yeah.
Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.